Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
A couple more times, just to be sure.
Just to be sure. We'll call this regular meeting of City Council. To recognize that we are on Treaty 5 land and we are all treaty people. Thank you. I'd like to call for approval of the agenda. Councillor Colburn and Councillor Valentino. All those in favor? Thank you, carried. Community comments or feedback? Please stand if you have anything. Second time. Community comments and feedback. And third time. Community comments and feedback. Seeing nothing, we will proceed. Thank you very much. Number 5.1 is a public hearing for the adoption of minutes, a public hearing for variation order 993-0, November 16th, 2020. Resolution 2020-203, moved by
Braden?
Is it Braden? Maybe, capital B?
Yeah.
Okay,
I just
moved
find
by
it-
Councillor McMurdo, seconded by Councillor Lundmark. Be it resolved that the minutes of the public hearing for variation order number 993-20 held in Council Chamber, City Hall, Thompson, Manitoba, on Monday, November 16, 2020, be adopted as circulated. Administration,
Nothing further.
Council? Call for the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried.
You're not getting Councilor Cruz.
Councillor Prue,
Yep.
in favor of the minutes that I just proposed?
Yep.
Can't hear you.
Hello?
Can you hear us, Braden? Or Braden, pardon me, Andre?
Yeah, a little bit.
5.2, public hearing for bylaw 2000-2020, zoning bylaw amendment, November 16, 2020. Resolution 2020-204, moved by Deputy Mayor Wong, seconded by Councillor Valentino. Be it resolved that the minutes of the public hearing for bylaw 2000-2020, zoning bylaw amendment held in Council Chamber, City Hall, Thompson, Manitoba, on Monday, November the 16th, 2020, be adopted as circulated. Administration?
Nothing further.
Council? Any questions? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Point 3 is the adoption of minutes for the regular meeting of council, November 16th, 2020. Resolution 2020-205, moved by Deputy Mayor Wong, seconded by Councillor Valentino. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held in Council Chamber, City Hall, Thompson, Manitoba, on Monday, November 16th, 2020, be adopted as circulated. Administration?
Nothing further.
Council? Call for the question. All those in favor? Andre? Carried.
Yeah, hello. Aye.
Point 4, adoption of minutes for the organizational meeting of council, November the 18th, 2020. Resolution 2020-206, moved by Councillor McMurdo, seconded by Councillor Lundmark. Be it resolved that the minutes of the organizational meeting of council held in Council Chamber, City Hall, Thompson, Manitoba, on Wednesday, November 18th, 2020, be adopted as circulated. Administration?
Nothing further.
Council? Call for the question. All those in favor? Andre? Andre? Andre, can you hear us?
Andre has left the meeting.
Andre has left the meeting, okay. We still have quorum. All those in favor?
Point of order, Madam. You called for it, but you don't say against in the last three motions.
I lost moved ahead. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Correspondence, we have a letter from Rochelle Squires, Minister of Municipal Relations, in regard to the transit funding allocation for City of Thompson. Dear Mayor Smoot, I am pleased to provide you with an update from my letter of October 22nd, 2020, with information on your transit allocation under the Federal Safe Restart Agreement. As previously communicated, the Federal Restart Agreement included $33 million in transit funding support for municipalities in Manitoba. Based on information received from municipalities, we have developed a formula for distributing the funding that takes into account both ridership and projected losses due to COVID-19. The formula is applied as follows. 50% of available transit support is distributed to each municipality based on 2019 ridership. The remaining 50% of funding is distributed to each municipality in a manner that covers remaining projected transit losses after ridership information is taken into account. This approach represents a fair and equitable distribution of funding to all municipalities. It also ensures that each municipality in Manitoba with a transit system has at least 99% of their transit-related losses covered. Based on this formula, Thompson will receive $141,772 in funding under the transit stream of the Federal Safe Restart Agreement. Funding will be deposited in the coming days. The intent of the funding provided under the agreement is to cover losses included during the first several months of COVID-19 pandemic. We will continue to collaborate with municipalities to understand and monitor future financial impacts. Warmest regards, Rochelle Squires. This is a good news story. Administration?
Nothing further.
Okay, Councilor Valentino?
Yeah, I'd just like to add that we discussed this at council at the Finance and Legislative and Intergovernmental Affairs Committee. And it's important for the public to know that this is a line item that's being discussed in our present budget deliberations as council, the $141,000 to be used within our transit system. And also to be aware that we did even though our transit was down during the COVID-19 pandemic portion, that we still did qualify for some of this dollars. And it's important, I think, also to note that not all municipalities in the province are getting this. It's just for municipalities that do have a transit system. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Ellsworth?
Yes, Councilor Valentino covered most of it, but it's important for the public to understand that we are getting 2 new buses in the new year, which is basically paid for, and this is an extra 141 that will go into the reserve for the funding, and certainly we'll have to look at it in budget what we do, and you need to understand that there's not just buses to run, there's the shelters, there's other things, so that was part of the discussion as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors? Thank you. Yes, this is definitely, I know our transit system over the last 2 years has taken some hits and that, but this is definitely a welcome check in our bank account. Move on to resolutions. 7.1 is a resolution to authorize administration to enter into a gift agreement with Canadian Tire Jumpstart Charities. And I would just like to mention that we have Mike Howell from Canadian Tire and Thompson in our audience tonight. And I think when people see what's happening, they'll be very excited. Resolution 2020-207, moved by Councillor Valentino, seconded by Councillor McMurdo. Be it resolved that council authorize administration to enter into a gift agreement between City of Thompson and Canadian Tire Jumpstart Charities for an inclusive multi-sport court. And I'll go to administration.
Yes, Canadian Tire Jumpstart has approached the City of Thompson to enter into an agreement to develop a fully accessible outdoor multi-sport court facility. It is at the existing Westdale Tot Lot. The facility will have spaces to play basketball, wheelchair basketball, tennis, pickleball, ball hockey, as well as have the ability to be flooded in the wintertime for an outdoor rink. The lines would be developed to be seen by the visually impaired. There's quiet areas that are included for those with autism, and there will also be a shaded bleachers area. This overall project is estimated at about $700,000, which the City of Thompson is responsible for $100,000. This project addresses concerns for accessible and low-cost recreation, as highlighted in the Public Safety and Community Wellbeing Survey. The rehabilitation of city parks is a standing agenda item on the Recreation Committee. It also meets the following priorities from the Council's strategic plan, which is creating designated zones for active recreation. It also meets Council's directive to respond to the findings of the recent Thompson Community Safety Survey and the work being performed by the Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee to develop low-cost, accessible recreation opportunities for the youth in the community. I believe that this is a very exciting project. And administration highly recommends that the council enter into this agreement.
Thank you. Go to Councillor Valentino.
Thank you, Mayor Smook. I'll be supporting this 100%. I think that this is just another good news story. What a night, 2 good news stories back to back. Gift of giving, I guess, right? So thank you to Mr. Howell from Canadian Tire Thompson for being here this evening, and also to the Canadian Tire Jumpstart charity nationally for choosing the City of Thompson and wanting to partner with us for this project. I think this is exactly what our community needs, is an outdoor low-cost recreation facility. Obviously, to what Mr. McLean said, this is a high priority that came out of our survey for the safety of our community. This will provide an opportunity for youth and for adults for another option to take part in for recreation. And I think it's just fantastic. And I think it's a very big good news story for the City of Thompson. And it's something that we need to promote and be very proud of. And we don't have enough of these kind of good news stories and partnerships. So I'm very, very happy to see moving into 2021 with a project like this taking place within our city. So thank you, and thank you, Mayor Smook. I'll be supporting this.
Thank you. Councillor Ellsworth.
Yes, I'd like to start out by thanking Mr. Earl as well. When we heard about this project in several ways, with committee and budget, it's exciting, and to think that we were chosen as a city in many ways to partner with, that's exciting. And when I think of, and Councilor Valentino again touched on about the safety, we all know what the safety survey said to us, and to see a new project coming to Thompson that will help to certainly engage not only the kids, but there's other people that certainly probably older that will take the opportunity to use this as well. It's in an area of town where it's actually lacking, that is something we need to do. We've done stuff in the other areas of town. So again, I certainly look forward to supporting this.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Councillor Fountain.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Excuse me for speaking loud. I just want the public to hear me. This is a wonderful example of somebody coming forward and trying to do something for the community. Tough decision for me tonight. I supported this in recreation wholeheartedly, hearing what was on offer as well as what the city's portion of the commitment would be. Unfortunately, after looking at this closely, I'm reminded of all of the infrastructure that we have in place that's currently falling apart that could use city money. Examples of that, obviously, the pool, Juniper splash pad is being ripped apart next year at a considerable cost. A number of complaints that I've received about the state of our other parks. This facility requires us to commit 15 years of maintenance, which is reasonable. What's not written here is that the city's also responsible for providing security fencing as well as security during the construction time, the period of construction, and unforeseen expenses that and cost overruns. So with huge regret, I have to not support this tonight based on the fact that we have a crumbling infrastructure everywhere. Money is so tight. I don't feel that this is a $100,000 project for the city. I expect this would run much, much higher. Thank you for the time. I can't support this.
Any other councillors? Councilor McMurdo?
I had just some thoughts to mirror from what Councilors Valentino and Ellsworth had said about what a good opportunity I think this gift represents, and to thank Mike or Mr. Howell and the Canadian Tire Charitable Organization for recognizing Thompson for this opportunity. And I'm happy to see that there's a provision in there for an outdoor rink as well, because with our extended winters, I think options for outdoor activities are paramount to Thompson. So thanks, and I will be supporting the resolution.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Colburn?
I'd like to thank Mr. Howell for his large contribution here. I support this all the way because we need recreation, we need things for kids to do, people to do, which sometimes right now we're lacking of. We need extra things like this. So I really think this is a good project and I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Lundmark?
And just to, like to reiterate what some of my other fellow councilors have said, thank you, Mike, for coming tonight. Really appreciate the opportunity you've given us and the amount of funds you're putting behind this project. And I'm looking forward to another beautiful facility for youth to deal with, or to work at, play at, and do some good outdoor activities and enjoy some of the things that we have to offer in Johnson. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I'll be supporting.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Wong?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I think I need to thank you to Mr. Howard show up here to and also support this program. Just a few questions I kind of like confused right there. Number one, from the administration standpoint, they say, well, they're responsible for 100,000. Is it up to 100,000 or 100? Because from this paper here, it said up to, so it's the difference in my opinion. Yours can be less when it's up to. Second question is, when the estimation is $700,000, and from the agreement, it shows Jumpstart putting out 500,000, and we put up 100. So where's the other 100 come from? I just want to be clarified.
Yeah, Mike Howell himself is putting up the difference in money. And it is up to $100,000 in the agreement for the city here.
Okay. Because to me, I need to be clarified with the money. That's the very important part, right? Other than that, I think I can see myself support this for this time, and thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I would just like to say how excited I am for this project. Mike Howell arrived in Thompson, and I actually got to meet him within a couple of weeks of him being here when his store flooded out, major damage. He didn't skip a beat. Within 3 weeks, he was still having a fundraiser up at Lions Park and give his staff off the day off to come out there. He's been a big supporter of our Winter Wonderland that we're doing now, and a lot of activities in between. So I really think that by having him as a city partner that we can't go wrong, and we can work together on the smaller problems that are coming up in between. So I would just like to say I would like to support this, and I think it's a great news story just for Jumpstart. That basically brings Thompson onto the map of Canada as far as Jumpstart goes. And it brings us into the bigger picture when we're dealing with the pool and other things down the line. If we do this properly, we'll be back at the fountain. Thank you. Councilor Fountain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just one last comment for me, too, actually, sorry. I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Howell and his commitment to the city of Thompson, despite not supporting this. I think this is a wonderful example of him being a community leader, and I'm deeply regretful not being able to support this. I do want to point out that there are a number of recreational opportunities within a couple hundred meters of this proposed zone. Number of places where these sports that are listed in the memo are already available to the city of Thompson. I want to point out that I've had and received complaints from users of the tennis courts, the skate park, about us not being able to provide toilets. We don't have the money to provide toilets, but we're going to enter into an agreement which may have cost overruns, also an agreement for maintenance. Maybe that's what we need for all our facilities, but I have to take those complaints to heart when I'm voting tonight, because we haven't done our due diligence to make sure that those parks are maintained and fully usable. When we have kids that are pooping and peeing in the park itself because we can't provide the services they need to use that facility. I'm sorry and regret that I can't support this. I do have to look at the overall picture. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think the overall picture is part of our master parks plans that we have been working on for the last few years with splash parks and the community itself. Deputy Mayor,
Councillor Ellsworth.
or Councillor Ellsworth, sorry.
I know, you got used to it. Although I don't disagree with everything Councillor Fountain has said, because he's got a point about the crumbling infrastructure. But let me put a different spin on it. Because I do agree with him, we've got to fix what we got in place and we need money, we're tight. But here's the thing for me. I've lived in Thompson for 40 years as well. We, as a city, is going to have a hard time ever coming up with money to build a park like we're suggesting tonight to be built and partnering with it for many years to come. Well, we just don't have that money, so you put the different spin on it. So if we throw away that partnership, there's another area of town that we could have hopefully, and statistics would have developed, but hopefully cut down on crime, engage people. And I would hope that parents, and I challenge parents, I raised 4 children there, and I got 11 grandchildren, that we make sure that our children do use washrooms, and if not available, take them home. Thompson anywhere 5 minutes. But here's the point. I again thank Mr. All for coming forward, and I know that Councillor Fountain's not against that. He's acknowledged them for coming forward with this idea, and for us being able to have the opportunity to put a park in place in next year that we probably would not be able to afford as a city because we can't afford it. Is going to come with some cost, there's no doubt about it, but a lot less cost than if we had to build it ourselves. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I just want to acknowledge Councillor Prue is having trouble with his connection, so he has excused himself from the meeting tonight. Okay, anybody else? We'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Yeah, I'd like to come in about our infrastructure, our common infrastructure right now. With a new project like this, and our common infrastructure can be disregarded, and that land reused for other things, and the resources used for that, our common park, can be used now for the new park. Right, so I just wanted to point that out, because it is an extra cost, but then it's probably going to be a step back on our other costs from the other parks that need more work. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Fong?
Thank you,
We'll
Madam
close the
Mayor.
conversation.
I realize I've spoken twice on this. I just want to point out that there is a cost associated with letting things run down and decommissioning them. We know what that cost is. It can be in the millions in the case of the pool, which we don't know what future is. But we do know for parks, because we're looking at doing one next year potentially, that those have a pretty excessive cost as well. Much in excess of the cost of maintaining them, I would suspect. So that aspect is there as well for us, and it is informing my decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, it's carried. Thank you, Mr. Howell. Seven point two is a resolution authorizing administration to enter into the FCM Municipal Asset Management Program, MAMP, grant agreement 16059. Resolution 2020208, moved by Councillor Lundmark, second by Councillor McMurdo. Whereas on June 8, 2020, Council passed Resolution 2020083, approving 2020 financial plan allocating $55,400 toward the asset management project. And whereas the City of Thompson applied to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities in the amount of $44,320 toward the asset management project. And whereas the Federation of Canadian Municipalities has approved $44,320 in grant monies for the City of Thompson toward the asset management project. And whereas the City of Thompson must enter into a grant agreement with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities prior to disbursement of these monies. Now therefore be it resolved that Council authorize administration to enter into a grant agreement with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities for Municipal Asset Management Program, MAMP, 16059. Administration?
Yes, so council had identified the development and implementing a citywide asset management program. It's one of its strategic plans. The city administration then applied to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and have landed this grant that will help subsidize implementation of the program on behalf of the council.
Thank you. Councillor Lundmark?
Yeah, I just, I'd be supporting this. We've all been waiting for this and looking forward to changing the way we deal with our assets and management. We're discussing that right now, actually, and really looking forward to see how this can help us improve our for a word here, I'm not getting it. For it'll improve the way we deal with our assets and management, make it more streamlined. And,
Thank you. Okay. Anybody, Deputy Mayor Wong?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When I look at the memo from the administration, according to the project is cost about $91,900, and FCN funded us $44,320, and we also allocate the budget $55,400. So that means we do have surplus for $7,820 at the end, right? So do we have any plan for that money, or we just go reserve after that?
There would be whatever plan council came up with. Right now, the plan is the dollars go towards this project.
Okay, thank you.
So if there's any short, or if we haven't spent it, we would come to council.
And I think asset management, this is to get it off the ground and to get it started. Asset management will be a long-term project for many years to come. So I'm sure this money is only, part of it to get us started.
May I continue? Thank you, Madam Mayor. The reason I want to point it out, it's just one of the worry I have is like when we budget money, we always end up with surplus. There, at the end of the year, when we do the finalize, we do have a significant surplus. It doesn't look good on us when we approving the budget with a higher rate, and then later on we have billions of dollars surplus. That's not really good picture in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Okay, I definitely agree. We've been working on getting the management, asset management in place. We've started some training in that already. So I really think this is a good news story. So I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. .3 is a resolution to approve the amendment to the disability section of the executive terms and conditions. Resolution 2020-209, moved by Councillor McMurdo, seconded by Councillor Ellsworth. Be it resolved, the council approved the amendments to the disability section of the executive staff terms and conditions. Administration?
Sure. So the executive terms and conditions are currently under review due to council directive to myself. We were contacted by Service Canada because we have an EI premium reduction that is due to us through our short-term disability and our salary continuance plans. They require some changes to the language for us to retain those reductions, and they've requested that those changes be made. So really what's before council is section or appendix D on short-term disability coverage policy under the executive terms and conditions so that the city can retain those benefits to the government.
Thank you. Councillor McMurdo?
Oh, I didn't have a hand raised, sorry.
Okay. Any other councillors? Okay. Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's you. Did you have your hand up for in favor? I missed it.
I did.
Thank you. .4 is a resolution to approve the sole source of the purchase of our radios for Thompson Fire and Emergency Services from Bell MTS. Resolution 2020-210, moved by Councillor McMurdo, seconded by Councillor Ellsworth. Be it resolved that council sole source the purchase of 27 APX 2000 portable radios, and 8 sets of APX 2500 dash-mounted radios from Bell MTS, plus activation charges for a total of $130,176 with additional taxes. Administration.
And so in 2017, Premier Pallister announced, along with Bell MTS, that they'd be overhauling the emergency radio services for the province. And the province made an offer to all municipalities that if the municipality bought the radio, the province would pay for the charges to run, basically to run the radios every year. Council decided through the budgeting process last year that they wanted to replace the radios. The thing is, with this program, the government had already pre-identified 3 vendors that could be used to sell the radios. So the administration's done extensive amount of research on it, and they brought it forward, resolution forward for the purchase of that, to meet council's desire to get these up into our vehicles. And I believe we have to have this passed before the end of December to ensure that we get some of the reductions in the costs towards the program.
Thank you. Councilor McMurdo, any comments?
Yeah, I just think this was a provincial government imperative from 2017. It's good to see that we're getting on board and to eliminate some of the redundancies for communication that I read in the letter from the fire chief, that now they can operate on the same channels as other government services, etc. And that if the price is going up and we won't have operation fees covered into the new year, then now's the time to support, go ahead with it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Councillor Valentino?
Thank you, Mayor Smith. I'll be supporting this also. It is time sensitive for the end of the year. It has been a long time of work. I'd like to also mention that AMM, the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, worked with a lot of the municipalities within the province since this announcement from the Premier in 2017. So there is a note in the memo that we are one of the last municipalities getting this done. So it is time sensitive, and I'll definitely be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ellsworth?
Yeah, there's some things as well you got to look into when we're purchasing that, is that we're buying it outright. It's not a debenture, not a loan. We're buying it out, so as it's been written by administration into the document that they provided, it's just repair and maintenance going forward. And Councilor McMurdo, I highlighted a very important point. Instead of having different channels or different agencies, you got one. It's going to make a big difference in the communication. So certainly in the city of Thompson, we need to be on the one channel. So I certainly support it as well.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Councillor Fountain?
I'd like to say I'm happy to support this. We'll certainly increase the communication interagency during incidents. Glad to see this.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Wong?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want a clarification because the resolution is to approve the buy from Bell MTS. So when I read the memo, it says we're waiting for ship from Jeans Telecom. So
That's the next one. Next.
is the memo from the same resolution?
Anthony?
Yeah, that's because the radios do come from Bell MTS, but there's only 3 providers that have been authorized. That's what's made this complicated. So there's Allcom, I believe, Jeans Telecom, and there's another third one there that I believe said they couldn't do it. So that's why it's being brought up this way.
You confused me.
It's a bit of a confusing process, but that's how the province set it up. That's why we didn't go to a normal tender process that we'd use, because we were told you can only use one of these 3 to buy your radios.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other councillors? Councillor Lundmark?
Well, thank you. Here's another example of efficiencies in the city that will help us in the future. Grateful that some of the stuff, at least they had somebody in the north that's distributing these things, and I know that this has gone online today, so I'm really glad that we're getting there. I have the radio in my provincial truck, so I know that those are online now. Thanks. Probably spoiled.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. $7.5. A resolution. Yeah, 7.5, resolution for sole source to support the service agreement for the Foxborough operating system. Resolution 2020211, moved by Deputy Mayor Wong, seconded by Councilor McMurdo. Be it resolved that council approves sole sourcing the support and service agreement for the water treatment plant Foxborough system to Schneider Electric for a cost not to exceed $33,358 plus applicable taxes. Administration.
Yeah, Foxborough is the key operating system that controls our water treatment plant. It is a proprietary software developed by Schneider Electric. Valley had entered into the annual support and services agreement with Schneider Electric, and then when the water treatment plant was transferred to the city of Thompson, this agreement continued. The annual support and service agreement is now due for renewal. The services provided by Schneider Electric include providing support for all control software and hardware required for the operation of the water treatment plant, as well as providing the life cycle reports for all components of the system. Schneider Electric has provided pricing for a one-year term of $33,358. They also have provided pricing for a three-year term. But with all the pricing that was provided, the city of Thompson will not realize any cost savings entering into a three-year agreement. The administration recommends that council enter into the one-year support agreement.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Wong.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We did discuss this at the finance committee. I see your point from the administration about the enter to the 1 year, but I do like to point it out for this particular project or the contract. Basically, we married to the Foxborough program because we run into the system. So now, based on the breakdown, when you ask them to quote for 3 years, of course, they're breaking down such a way. Absolutely, I agree with what you analyze it. But now, what I worry about next year, when we go and ask them again, they might quote you 36,000. I don't know. I don't know that part. I'm just saying, this is what I look at what in front of me. This is the only thing that I worry about. We enter 1 year for now, I get it. But the second year, they might give you a different price. It's not guaranteed that they're going to give you the same quote that they give it to you this time. So, but other than that, I think we have no choice but to go for it for 1 year based on your recommendation. But moving forward, I'd like to see enter the longer term to see what the price will be. And I think somehow we still have some room to bargain that part. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Landmark.
Yeah, I had a similar question in committee, and part of the reason I had the question, like I agree with, I thought a 3% annual increase over 3 years would be great if we had to be married to Foxborough. However, I asked the administration at the time that why we thought just going 1 year, and it's possible that we will switch our Foxborough, our device or electronics over to the similar the equipment that's being used at the wastewater treatment plant. So we don't want to be tied to this for sure for 3 years, if that's not going to change. We don't know if we'll be doing that this year, but we don't want to continue that for 3 years at this time, and that's the reason why the administration did this. So I agree with this, and I will be supporting this single use this time. Thank you.
Councilor Ellsworth?
Well, it's an easy sell for me. In fact, the administration did look at 1, 2, 3 year agreement. And in fact, they went back to prior, and it increased in the year 1 to $973. Year 2, $1,000. Year 3, $1,031. If I had a crystal ball, I would buy tickets tonight if I knew what they were going to do next year, the next year after that. So I would not be entering into agreement for long term. If you've asked the question, why would we give them extra money from the city if we could not get them to actually lower the rate with a 3 year? That's usually what you do. You lower the rate in a 3 year agreement. They haven't done that. They've increased it every year. Understanding the point that Mayor Wong was trying to make, I do get that. But not at the expense, because I'm sure we can, using your arguments earlier, we can use $1,000 somewhere else that we know we got guaranteed. They've increased it every year, and I think I should and will support the 1 year agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'd just like to say I'm supporting it on the basis that Neil had told us that it's possible that we're going to upgrade the system to match the wastewater, and it's basically an upgrade of the Foxborough system. So, but this way, we only have the 1-year term tied to it, so it'll be easier to get new terms for the upgrades if should we do them. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, Councillor Fountain.
Maybe point out that $1,000 increase, thank you, Madam Mayor, sorry. Should point out that an increase of $1,000 year over year represents about a 3 point something or other rate of inflation. I think this year we were looking at 5 in the beginning of the year. I don't know what it's been with COVID. But don't clarify that for the record, that that's not an unreasonable increase based on the cost increases due to inflation.
Thank you. Any other council? We'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? No. Carried. Thank you. Seven point 6, resolution to approve the tabulation of prices for the purchase of trailers for the new water treatment plant. Resolution 2020-212, moved by Deputy Mayor Wong, seconded by Councillor Lundmark. Be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of the purchasing agent and award the purchase of 3 trailers required at the wastewater treatment plant operations to Brandt Tractor Limited for their tendered price of $49,155 with additional taxes as per tender file number 20-12989. Administration.
So the City Council wastewater treatment plant has contracted Waste Management for the rental and hauling of 2 refuse bins for disposing their e-water sludge product that is produced from the treatment process. This project was identified as a cost-saving measure to reduce the operating cost of the wastewater treatment plant. Currently, the estimated annual cost for disposal of this sludge project is $74,562.57. We've released an RFP for the supply of 3 16-foot Panamax dump trailers to be used for the disposal of this product. With the purchase of these trailers, the city will be able to terminate the contract with Waste Management and utilize city staff to haul and dispose of the product as their normal work tasks. A mandatory delivery of 2 weeks was a requirement of this RFP, with only 1 bidder able to meet this requirement. Any delivery longer than this 2-week period would result in an estimated expense of $6,000 per month. Administration recommends that council approve the purchase of the 3 new Panamax dump trailers from Brandt Tractor for the cost of $49,000.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Wong.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, the memo is pretty self-explanatory about why we're doing this, and obviously it's no-brainer. 1 year we can recoup the money already. The second point I'd like to make is that this money is already in the budget from the public works, so we are not adding more money to the budget. So there's a plus sign. But I do like to point it out about this, the reason we need to go this way to buy this 3 tandems axle dump trailers because of the design a little bit of fail at the end, because $36 million after we spent on the project, and they forgot about the sludge at the end, the waste, how to take care of it. That's why it caused this problem. And the way that previously dealing with is a little bit hassle for our staff with the safety reason. So now the mission came out, this is a better idea to take care of the sludge. So thank you for that recommendation, and I will support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillor? Councillor Fountain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A team that I'm leading at Valley will be running a parallel project that may benefit from this purchase, Madam Mayor. So I will be not necessarily declaring conflict of interest, but not voting on this. I'll be abstaining from voting on this.
Thank you. Any other council members? Okay. Seeing none, we'll call for the question, and Councillor Fountain is abstaining due to the fact that he is going to be possibly involved in this. All those in favor? Carried. And please note that Councillor Fountain abstained. With reason. 7.7, a resolution to approve the additional work to the RFP number 12977 for cell painting at the Public Safety Building. Resolution 2020213, moved by Councillor McMurdo, seconded by Councillor Lundmark. Whereas on November 2nd, 2020, Council passed resolution number 2020186, awarding a proposal for painting of cell blocks inside the Public Safety Building to Modern General Contractors for their tendered price of $65,000 with additional taxes as per tender file number 12977. And whereas a request by the RCMP to paint the ceiling of the hallway be completed as well. Now therefore be it resolved that Council approve adding the painting of the hallway at the Public Safety Building at an additional cost of $10,110, with the total project cost not to exceed $75,110 with additional taxes. Go to administration.
Sure, this is a project that started as a bit of a lobby effort by council to work with the province and the RCMP. The province uses a large number of our cells of the RCMP detachment, and Minister Cullen's office and the RCMP agreed to pay towards this project. Originally, the thought was that the province would put $50,000 forward, and the city would put forward $20,000 to make $70,000. But when the agreement was signed, the province is putting forward $80,000, and with the match from the city, that would be up to $100,000. We tendered the project, and it came back at $65,000, but it didn't include the ceilings of the hallway because that wasn't in the original scope. It was the RCMP that would tell us what the scope was for the painting job. They had to approve it. So they've made the request to use these dollars from the province towards painting those extra things that weren't included in the original RFP. Administration is well within the amount that we have budgeted, and the administration recommend approving this addition to the work.
Thank you. Councillor McMurdo?
I'm sorry, did not have a reason.
Oh, you moved the thing, so you can speak first if you have
My
anything to
apologies.
say.
I don't have anything to say further. No, the money was already allocated, right?
Thank you. Councillor Valentino.
Yeah, I'd just like to say further to City Manager McGinnis's comments that this was an advocating project working with Minister Cullen's office and Minister Cullen direct. I think he toured the cells. So this is also a carry forward project still from 2020. So I'll definitely be supporting this. It's definitely something that our cells are needed to be done, and it needs to include the hallway. So I'm all for supporting this. It's within the budget parameters. So thank you, Mayor Smith.
Okay, any other council? Councillor Lundmark.
Just like to say I'll be supporting this, and thank you for all the advocating and work that was put into this. It could be the city paying lion's share of this project without that help from administration and from our fellow friends at the RCMP. Thank you for getting it off a lot cheaper, and it's within our budget. So thank you.
Okay. Anything further from council? I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. (7.8) A resolution to authorize administration to proceed with payment from the Thompson Ski Club Incorporated trust account. Resolution 2020214, moved by Councillor McMurdo, seconded by Councillor Ellsworth. Whereas the Thompson Ski Club has a trust account with the City of Thompson, and whereas the Thompson Ski Club has requested that the invoice received from Fortis Mining Engineering Manufacturing for a cable replacement in the amount of $30,000 is paid out of the trust account. Now therefore be it resolved that council approve payment of invoice 007985-01 for the cable replacement to Fortis Mining Engineering Manufacturing for $30,000 from Thompson Ski Club in trust account. Go to administration. Jenny?
Yeah, so the ski club had applied for a grant through the Thompson Community Foundation for replacement of their T-bar, which malfunctioned last year. They were successful in receiving that grant, and they have received a check to go into their trust. So now that their trust account has sufficient room to pay for this invoice, and this process is to come to council for approval prior to doing so.
Thank you. Councillor McMurdo as mover.
Just to say, happy to see that we got the grant, as that's one recreational outlet that we have in Thompson that, unlike any others, it's an opportunity anyways to get outside. So it'll be nice to see that operational and probably support it.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Wong.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question about the flow-through funding. Would it be reflected to our books, which is mean like there's expenses and the revenue? So will it be affected to our books when it comes to this type of activity?
Okay.
So the trust don't flow through revenue and expenses, but there is a note in the financial statement which outlines the transactions in each trust for the year.
Councillor Fountain.
I'd like to acknowledge the hard work done by volunteers at that facility. You know, every year that we've been able to count on that place being in really good shape for skiers to come from all over the province and elsewhere too, to take in that activity. And I appreciate their hard work and efforts maintaining and creating that opportunity for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Yes, I'd also like to acknowledge that Mr. Mountain is one of the hidden gems of northern Manitoba. A lot of people that live in Thompson don't even realize it's out there. Our own communications officer, Casper, has a lot to do with it, and I'd like to thank him for his involvement. And I think anytime that we can do upgrades to facilities like that with their own dollars, that they work very hard for a small group to raise, that the little bit that the city can do for flow through is much welcome. I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Seven point nine is a resolution to rescind council members' code of conduct policy. Resolution 2020-215. Moved by Councillor Valentino, seconded by Councillor Lundmark. Whereas council passed bylaw number 1997-2020, being a bylaw of the city of Thompson, to establish and regulate a code of conduct for the members of council. And whereas the code of conduct for members of council supersedes council members' code of conduct policy. Now therefore be it resolved that council repeal the council members' code of conduct policy. Administration.
Yes, the Department of Municipal Relations required that all municipalities in the province of Manitoba develop a council code of conduct bylaw. The bylaws supersede policies. Council did pass this with 3 readings, but at this point now we have to repeal. So this is really a housekeeping item. We just have to get the old policy off the books.
Thank you. Councillor Valentino.
Thank you, Mayor Smook. I'll be supporting this, and as City Manager McGinnis stated, this is a bit of a housekeeping thing. For the public, though, just because we did pass the code of conduct from the province, with 3 readings, it's still the due diligence of every councillor in the province to do the mandatory training that is available online. This is your little reminder for our own council. If you haven't done it yet, it takes a couple hours of your day, and it's really quite an informative program to do. So it is the due diligence still of us as a council that we have to do our homework and get that done by May 1st. So I want the public to be aware this wasn't a simple 3 reading of a bylaw. There's still follow up on our end. So I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like at this time that I know of Councillor Valentino and Councillor Ellsworth have completed the training. Has anybody else got it yet? We have till May 1st, and I plan to get it done this week. So any other councillors want to make comment on this? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried. 7.10, a resolution to appoint a member of council to the Thompson Community Development Corporation. Resolution 2020-216, moved by Councillor Valentino, seconded by Councillor Lundmark, I believe. Be it resolved that council appoint Councillor Prue as a member of the Thompson Community Development Corporation. Administration?
Yeah, so the interim board of the newly reconstituted Thompson Community Development Corporation is made up of members of council and members of the administration until the CDC is ready to pass it over to be more arm's length and run by members of the community. From the interim board, we've had a member of council who had to resign from the board, which created an opening, and notice was sent out to all councilors to put their names forward if they wanted to be considered by council for that opening. And we received only a response only from Councillor Prue. So his name is on the resolution this evening.
Thank you. Councillor Valentino?
Thank you, Ms. Mook. I'm happy to support Councillor Prue in doing this. He put his name forward, but he's always spoken very passionately about this project that we've got off the ground, so I'm supporting.
Thank you. Other councillors? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. (7.11) A resolution to approve the 2021 City of Thompson fee and fine schedule. Resolution 2020-217, moved by Councillor Lundmark, seconded by Councillor Ellsworth. Be it resolved that council approve the 2021 City of Thompson fee and fine schedule effective January 1st, 2021. Administration.
Through budget deliberations, council has reviewed the fees and fine schedule. They have increased by the informal practice of last year's tax increase, which was 2.22%. There were a few additions to the fees and fines. There's a charge for zoning use history letter, meter inspection fee, as well as the fees for the fire code bylaw infractions had increased. One reduction was the home-based businesses will see a 50% reduction after September 15th. And then the TRC advertising fees have remained the same, and then all regulated fees have remained at the regulated amount.
Thank you. Councillor Lundmark? Any other councillors? Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Are you in favor or opposed, Councillor?
Can you do it again, please, Madam Mayor?
Okay. Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, we're going to go into bylaws. 8.1 is the first reading of bylaw 1996-2020, vacant and derelict building bylaw. Resolution 2020-218, moved by Councillor Lundmark, seconded by Councillor Ellsworth. Be it resolved that bylaw 1996-2020, being a bylaw of the City of Thompson to establish a system to regulate the condition and maintenance of vacant residential and commercial buildings, and to establish a process to take title to vacant and derelict buildings, to be known as the vacant and derelict building bylaw, be introduced and read a first time. Administration?
So the new council had, when they come in about a year and a half ago, had identified that the city didn't have the proper powers in place through bylaw to tackle boarded up buildings and vacant buildings throughout the community. And this was a bit of an eyesore on the community that they received a lot of complaints about. They directed the administration to do research on what the options were. That was done through the Development Review Committee. Its administration identified that the City of Brandon had a robust bylaw, which we then adapted for the City of Thompson using our legal counsel. And this would be the first reading of such a bylaw with vacant derelict buildings.
Thank you. Councillor Lundmark?
This is a lot of work for administration and staff. I want to say late, our previous director of development. I know he started all the work on this, and I really appreciate all the work that was put towards this bylaw. I'm looking forward to the fit and actually maybe some funds from it. with some of those derelict buildings. Thank you very much. I'll be supporting it. I'm happy with all the work that went into it. And
Thank
the
you.
development review committee too. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ellsworth.
Yeah, we've been working on this for a long time, like the mayor said, I guess for almost 2 years now. We've been working on it, and I know, and Brian alluded to it, Councilor Lundmark, RMG Gill did a lot of work on this bylaw, getting it up, and our administration have completed it so that we got to the table tonight in the form of a bylaw. And let me say, it's not just the bylaw, it's a problem that's existed for a long time in the city of Thompson. It makes our city look bad when properties are left to deteriorate, not looked after, and I'm not gonna point out certain buildings tonight, but we all know where they are. And I'm looking forward to, once we finally get past to the final reading, where it's not just the bylaw that sits on the shelf and collects dust, but our people goes out and actually does something with it. Working with the owners of these buildings to either upgrade them or do something with them, or have them tore down so that we don't have to look at it continuously. And I might hand on this part. It's one thing to look at it, but some of these buildings are very unsafe, and we've got people that's been breaking in, staying in there. Some of them have caught on fire several times, had to be boarded up at the expense of the city, I'm sure, many times. So I am very pleased tonight as a councillor that this bylaw was brought finally here for first reading. And like I said, I look forward to when we're finished with it, and then our people going out and implement it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Other Councillor Fountain?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's important for a city to have the ability to enforce standards for all buildings in their jurisdiction. So I'll be supporting this. I just want to point out that the city itself has a number of boarded up buildings that have had people unsafely access them. I ran for council to ensure that the city held itself to its own standards. I will be supporting this, but I do want to point out those instances where the city isn't necessarily a player in this game, to support my previous statements made about the jumpstart.
Thank you, Councillor Fountain. Deputy Mayor Wong?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is just the first reading. I believe we do have, let's say we do need to change a bit of the wording or the fees and the fine. We're able to do that as elected officials. Am I right, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, so just want a clarification. So all the council that have an opportunity, if they see something need to be changed, so at least we can have an input for that. Okay, thank you.
Councillor McMurdo?
Yeah, just for my understanding, so if buildings aren't brought into compliance after the first notice, the second notice can be issued at 31 days. And then ownership can be transferred to the city after 90. Is that correct?
Which charter are you on?
I was just reading from my notes. That was just what I take out of that.
Yeah, it depends on the compliance or non-compliance. So the way this is set up, that if the individual is compliant, they would pay the fee and maintain the building to the standards, and everything's fine. But if they don't maintain the standard, then the process begins that the city can start to go after the title of that property.
Okay, so it's a broader process beyond that. That's kind of my question.
If you're in compliance, we would never go that route. If you're out of compliance, but there would be the proper notifications as shown.
Okay, and a second comment I just wanted to say, just to speak to Councilor Fountain's point, is that just the Norflex comes to mind, and the number of cities derelict buildings or whatever the city manages. If the expectation is for the community and et cetera, then we also have to hold ourselves to the same standard. Thanks.
Councillor Valentino?
I just want to say that this is a long time coming, and I'm definitely supporting this. And I won't be bringing forth any changes when we do second and third reading, because the discussion points for the last 2 years at Development Review Committee and with RMG Gill's work have all been identified, and all of my questions have been answered. So I'm happy to move this forward as quickly as we possibly can. I'll definitely be supporting first reading.
Thank you. Councillor Lundmark? No, I thought I saw your hand. Okay. Any further comments from council? Yes, I'm also very excited to see this go through. Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Brings us to the mayor's report. Tonight is from activities from November 17th to the 30th, 2020. I take greetings at the Christmas tree lighting on November the 17th for National Child Day. And along with City Manager Anthony McGinnis, we met with MPO Grand Chief. And I also attended a Mining and Mineral Development Fund Board meeting that day. Along with Councilors Ellsworth and Lundmark, as well as administration, we participated in the Thompson Community Development Corporation meeting via Zoom, and the organizational meeting of council was also held on November 18th. We also had the Valley Liaison meeting on November the 19th. I know Councilor Valentino was also on that call. If anybody else was on it, please acknowledge. I only heard her and myself. Along with City Manager Anthony McGinnis, we had a conference call with Minister Squires on November the 20th, where a lot of our issues were brought up, and it was a very good call. Along with Councilors Ellsworth, Valentino, Prue, and McMurdo, as well as administration, we participated in the virtual AMM conference, and along with Councilors Fountain and Prue, as well as administration, we met with the Boreal Discovery Board on November 23rd. Along with my colleagues on council and administration, we met with the RCMP D Division via conference call as part of the AMM convention on November the 25th. Along with council members and administration, we participated in a go-to meeting with Minister Squires as part of the AMM convention on November 22nd. We've started our budget meetings. We've already had a couple, and there's another one this week coming up. We've had various committee meetings, Legislative and Finance, and the Building Standards Committee. Anthony and I are on with NRHA on the COVID calls 3 times weekly and other updates as needed. And I would just like at this time for the pool committee is putting on Winter Wonderland at McCready Campground this year from December 11th to January the 2nd. The tickets are available at City Hall. It's $10 per vehicle or $30 for 4 tickets. And they're always in need of LED, colored lights, anything that can be dropped off at McCready Campground for them. And they're working really hard. There's a lot of great sites set up already. It's going to be a great thing to take in for the winter. Again, I would like to just let people know that COVID is still among us. We still have to stay safe. We're still under code red. Practice self-distance. Shop only when you have to for your groceries. Send one person at a time, not families. Wash your hands. Stay home where at all possible, and especially if you're sick, stay home. With this, I'd like to thank you, and if council has any other city matters that they did. Okay. Seeing none, a call for adjournment. Councilor Valentino, Councilor Colburn, all in favor. Thank you. And council, I'd just like to mention that we have to sing a song for Paul.
Love song?
What's that?
It's the last word. I thought we got everyone.
Ryan volunteered to be lead singer.
Thank you, Mike.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.